Hello and welcome to Super OK, where we try to do a decent enough job to entertain people with our opinions on video games. As always, my name is Dale, and I am joined here by the absolutely, just completely amazing
No, you.
Melephant.
Hi.
No, you.
No, you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
You know, I'm tired. I spent most of the day building a desk, but now I'm recording from that desk, and so it feels like it was all worth it.
Totally an accomplishment.
Yes, exactly. Put it on the list and then check it off the list.
Yes.
Make the list, make the first thing on the list make the list so you can check it off the list when you're done with the list. That's my move.
That's the best accomplishment.
Oh man. Are you a list maker?
I am a list maker. I make a list, but I never remove things off the list, it's just an ongoing list that you just check off of it. And I always feel like it's ever growing. It's just nonstop. The list is forever long.
Oh man. See, that's why I just don't bother to make the list. I'm just like, oh, I did one thing. Days accomplished. There's no list for me to worry about. Oh,
That's
shit.
fair. That's fair.
Oh no, I've paid no bills. I've done nothing.
Oh God.
I'm in for it. Yeah, whatever. This is a video game podcast, and each week we don't talk about video games to start with. Instead, we start by talking about our highlight of the week, which is a thing that made our week a little bit better, a little bit brighter, a little bit nicer to live in. Mel, why don't you share what your highlight of the week is?
Sure. I got to go see Queen, what's left of Queen at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. And obviously because Freddie Mercury has, passed on, they had Adam Lambert play or sing, for the band. And it was just an overall really good time. Like the group the crowd there was very diverse. It was very interesting to see, and everybody just loved Queen. And you can tell it was there were a lot of older people at the the venue and at the concert themselves, and they were so cute because they were wearing their Queen outfits, and some of them had the studded jackets and the sequins pants, and it was just a very, very fun time. I got to go with my mother-in-law and my husband, and I had to ask Josh. I was like, do you listen to any Queen? He goes, no, I don't. I know a couple of their songs, but not very many. And as the show went on, he's like, oh, I know this song and I know that song. And I was like, yeah, you probably didn't even realize it was Queen. So the whole entire time it was a sing-along, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah. Queen is one of those bands that's so prolific and so ubiquitous that you are likely a fan even if you don't realize.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It is actually, and I hate that I have to say this, but it's true because my wife will lord it over me forever. But it's the same way with ABBA, where it's there's so many songs where you're like, wait, this is also ABBA?
Yeah.
This one too? And Queen is exactly that same kind of thing. They also did this amazing thing where their songs run the gamut of human emotion and human experience.
For sure.
And so any mood that you're in, there's a Queen song that hits that.
Yes. Yeah. And it ranges from power ballads to just great bops, and yeah, it was just so good. I love that We Are the Champions is one of their songs on top of We Will Rock You. And it totally reminds me of Mighty Ducks, because that was one of my favorite movies back in the day.
That's awesome. That is awesome. It was funny that you said you could tell that some of the crowd was older. And I was like, how? Did they have canes that were Queen branded at the merch booth? Or
Oh, yeah. No, you could tell because they can't stand as long. So a lot of them end up having to sit, but they stand they stood up for their favorite songs, that type of thing. And I was like, yep, I get it. my knees also hurt.
Yeah, I understand that 100%.
Yeah.
Speaking of favorite songs, what's your favorite Queen song?
Bicycle. Bicycle is my favorite song, and it's just because it's a very like goofy kind of song. Like you wouldn't expect like a huge band to be singing about riding a bicycle, and they got to play that at at the show, and I was like so stoked.
That's awesome. That's very cool. That is very cool. Yeah, it sounds like you had an awesome time.
Yeah. What about you?
My highlight of the week it's a two-parter. The first part is that I got to hang out with some friends, Matt and Rachel, and went to this event at the zoo called Spooky Spirits,
Ooh.
which is like a thing where you go and there's like all of these different tasting booths for beer and non-alcoholic beverages and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it was great to like hang out, walk around the zoo at night. It was like perfect weather. We didn't really get to see too many animals because most of the animals were asleep or the exhibits weren't open, but it was good just like hang out, walk around, and that sort of thing. But,
Nice.
Ange had surgery earlier this week, and the activity of like walking around at this event was way too much. She way overexerted herself. She had her gallbladder out, by the way, so nothing like it's not like a crazy surgery. She was home the same day, like that sort of thing. But it was just way too much for her, and she ran into some complications last night. She was like in a ton of pain and like had all these difficulties to the point where I actually had to call the hospital and speak to one of the surgical residents to get like advice on like what to do, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
At like 4 a.m. Like it was it was bad and it was terrifying, right? And it's just one of those things where it's like my person is hurting and I felt helpless,
For sure.
But we followed all the advice from the doctor. We were able to get her to sleep. And then in the morning, like by the morning, most of those complications had passed, and she is now feeling like significantly better.
Oh,
and it's
great.
just like such a huge weight off of my chest to know that she's like not in constant pain anymore and not uncomfortable and all of that stuff.
Right.
So yes, it sucks that she had to go through that. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but I'm so very glad that we are on the other side of it.
Same. Yeah, I hate hearing, like somebody that like I'm close to is in pain. And it's affecting you, right? Because like, there's nothing that you can do. You just kind of like watch her suffer, and that's not something that is an enjoyable experience, that's for sure. But I'm happy to hear that like, whatever you guys did to make her more comfortable worked, and she got to sleep and is feeling better now.
Yeah. It was really cool because it was a case where the resident was like, or I'm sorry, the person at the hospital was like, the resident is busy right now, but we will have them call you back. And they like legit, like within half an hour called back and like sat on the phone with me for 20 minutes to make sure that we were clear on all of the instructions and like,
it's great.
Like all of that. Like it was really, really helpful. It alleviated a lot of my worries. It alleviated a lot of her worries. And, a bunch of the recovery process is also just like mental,
right?
Like how, like, oh, this weird thing is happening, or I feel pain here. Like, is there a complication? Like, I don't know. I can't see inside my body. And so to hear somebody with that much experience take that much time to kind of assuage all of those fears that we had, it was a huge boon. It was absolutely awesome. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. I wish them luck in whatever they do next.
Same.
Speaking of next.
Yeah.
Oh, what were you going to ask?
No, I'm not going to ask anything. I was going to lead us into the thing, but you're already doing it and I fucking ruined it. Okay, later. Bye.
Oh no, Mel has drifted out of frame. Speaking of next, Steam Next Fest is a thing. It's in fact a thing that Valve does 3 times a year. And it is essentially like a festival that they have inside Steam to highlight upcoming games. They do it every February, June, and October. And we are in the midst of the October one right now. They represent all sorts of things, all the way from like full AAA titles down to the lowliest of indies. And the cool part about it is many of the games featured, in fact, most of, maybe all of the games featured have demos that you can download and you can try. and you can get hyped, and you can add those games to your wish list, and you can tell your friends and family about them, and all of that fun stuff. And so Mel and I did.
Yeah.
Yay! We each picked a couple of games that we wanted to try out. We're going to share our first impressions of them with one another here for the first time. I don't know what games Mel plays. Mel doesn't know what games I played for the most part. I mean, they're in the outline, but you get it. And we're going to share those first impressions with you all as well. And if you have tried any of these games, I would love your first impressions in the Discord. Or if you tried games that we should try, let us know. So let's start. We'll dive into the untested waters of a bunch of weird game demos. Yeah. I actually want to go first.
Go first. Yeah. Do it.
And the reason I want to go first is because there is a game called Street Uni X.
Interesting.
And it is a unicycling, like, Tony Hawk game.
Of course you would play something crazy like that.
And it looked like it was going to be right up my alley. They got the nostalgia down. Like, when you start the game up, it starts with, like, the sound from a PlayStation 1. Like, booting up, like, all of it. Like, it was so perfect from, like, the vibes of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. Unfortunately, it's bad.
Really? Oh, man.
The first thing that I wrote down in the outline is just, like, you know, Dale's games. Below that, Street Uni X, point number 1. It's bad. Like, it feels like Tony Hawk, but with really bad controls, really bad physics. You're on a unicycle, and it's like, you know, Tony Hawk, like, it's a little bit floaty.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit floaty, so that way you can do tricks and things. In Tony Hawk, you could, like, ollie over 2 picnic tables, for instance.
Sure.
That's about the height of a jump. In this game, you cannot jump onto a picnic table.
What?
You can only jump onto the side, like the seats of a picnic table, and then if you want to keep jumping, you have to jump from that onto the top of a picnic table. So you don't have enough height clearance to, like, do real tricks, which is a real pain in the ass.
Do you just, like, fall on your face or something like that? Like,
that's the weirder part. The only time you fall in this game is if you mess up a trick. So if you, like, run into a wall or whatever, your momentum just completely stops.
You don't bounce.
You don't bounce. You just stop.
That's unfortunate.
It's really crazy.
Yeah.
The game has a tutorial, and the tutorial might be the hardest video game I've ever played in my life.
So unfortunate.
It is the Dark Souls of unicycle games. It was so fucking difficult to get through the tutorial. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to get through this tutorial. I'm going to play the first level. It looks like there's 3 total levels in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Every level is Tony Hawk 1 style. So it's like 2 minutes to complete all these different challenges. And you can try as many times as you want, right? And the only challenge, I was like, I'm going to beat one of these challenges. And the only one that I did was collect the 5 letters for the word trick throughout the thing. And it took me probably 20 tries to do this because the game controls so poorly and is so bad. All of that said, one shining light is that the soundtrack to this game fucking rips. The music in this game is so unbelievably good that it's almost worth downloading the demo just to listen to the music in it.
Yeah.
But don't play this game. It is bad. Stay away from Street Uni X.
So I have so many questions. So, like, in the tutorial, is it like teaching you how to, like, do tricks, or is it more or less and it's just hard to do those tricks, right?
Yeah. Yes. And a big chunk of the reason why is it'll be like, all right, here's how you grind. And then to like get to the next area in the tutorial, there will be an incredibly long grind rail that goes over a pit. And if you don't make it all the way over the grind rail, you fall in the pit and you have to try it again. And unlike Tony Hawk, where it's like you hit triangle to grind, this game, you have to hit either right bumper or left bumper to grind on which side of the unicycle you want to grind on.
Oh, no.
And if you don't come at it at the right angle, you can't get the pedal onto the thing.
Right.
And so it's like there's like 900 different things that can go wrong for this to happen.
Oh, that's too complex.
It took me probably 30 minutes to do that, like the whole tutorial. Well, the craziest part of this tutorial is there's wall taps, which is like, a Wally in Tony Hawk, but where you bounce off the side, like with the wheel of the unicycle. And when you do that, you get a little bit of height and it propels you forward a little bit. You had to jump off of a platform over a bottomless pit and wall tap off of one wall to another wall that you had to wall tap off of across this bottomless pit. It was insane.
That's not a tutorial. It's literally like a challenge run that's like making you do, because like if you're new to the game, why would they make you try to grind a rail that's like 30 freaking feet? Like, yeah. And why is the controls so difficult where you have to like pick a side of your stupid unicycle? Like, it would make more sense to be like, automatically figure it out.
Yeah, it's like it's bad or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's bad. All caps, by the way, it's bad.
I mean, I like the idea of it. Like, the idea of it sounds sweet, but like, it's unfortunate that it's just executed poorly.
Yeah, I also loved the idea of it, hence me downloading and trying it. But man, don't do it.
Rip.
All right, so what's your first game?
So my first game, and I kind of like just went through like whatever Steam kind of tells you is like the recommended ones. And the first one that I picked was this game called Pioneers of Pagonia. And I was like, okay, it's a city builder. Like you create a village, right? But what was interesting about it is that like you start on a ship and the ship comes on shore and you have like a whole bunch of people that are like workers ready to like, create a new town. So you have to build a specific like guard tower and exploration tower so that you can start exploring the area. And as the more you explore, the more land that you end up getting, which is kind of cool. But then you have to also kind of manage like, okay, you got to pick the houses, and you have to also build like these types of, woodcutter buildings and mining buildings and stuff like that. But it was like so fucking hard to do because like there wasn't really a tutorial. It was like, here, this is how you move your camera, and here's a list of objectives, and just do it. And I was like, all right, like this is fine. I don't know, like this game to me was just like any other city builder where you like put down different buildings, people start working at your buildings, you create specific like crafting items to help like augment your village or whatever. And yeah, it was just like any other. It was kind of casual and cozy. The whole game moved slow. There wasn't any way for you to like, speed up time like in other city builders. So you're just kind of like sitting there just like waiting for stuff to get done. And honestly, like it just didn't really impress me. The graphics were just okay. It wasn't anything special. The game itself wasn't anything special. And I was like, man, for Steam to have this algorithm of like, based on your games, you would like this one. Like this one's a total miss for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So is this like the interface? It sounds like it's like RTS style, yes. Or is it more like SimCity style, where it's like you don't control individual units, you just control the buildings?
Yeah, you just control the buildings. So it's more SimCity style. But the building of the roads kind of has like an RTS vibe to it, where you can only build with like where the road is. Like you can't just like plop certain things down. It has to be like within your, your conquered area, and it has to be next to a road.
Okay. So, and the other question, you just said conquered area. Is it just like, as long as you can see it, you can build to it like with your exploration towers, or is there actual combat?
So I haven't encountered any combat in the game. I'm sure that there probably is. I just haven't gotten far enough in the demo itself, because after like an hour of me playing this, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But like essentially when you build like your guard towers or your exploration towers, like there's a radius around it that will like have this building explore up to, the edge of that circle. So then you have to like continuously build more to capture more and more land. And it was just fine. It was fine.
Okay. What time period is this set in? Is this like modern day? Is it futuristic? Is it the past?
It's definitely, it feels more like medievally, like you still have to like build a tavern, like there's archers.
Okay.
It's also a little bit of like fantasy, because like you can build like arcane towers and like magic items. But again, I really haven't gotten that far because like the gameplay loop was just like very boring. Like it's just like any other like city building resource management game.
Okay.
There was nothing that really like captures you to be like, yeah, like play my game.
Okay.
It's all the same.
Kind of like a worse Warcraft / Age of Empires.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Would you recommend that other people try this out or no?
Oh, heck no. It's not good enough for me to be like, yeah, play this game. It was, it was just okay.
All right. Fair enough. I am going to flip the script. I'm going to talk about a game that I played that I would recommend to people. In fact, specifically, I think you're going to really enjoy this. It is a game called Animal Planner. And it is a game in which it's like a cozy tile puzzle game in which the goal is to make animals happy. And so all of the animals are on like this grid. There's some empty spaces, and then you've got like, some animals. And the animals all have individual goals, and they're true. It's true for all of those animals, right? So all sheep, for instance, love grass and are afraid of wolves. And so in order to make a sheep happy, you've got to have it next to a thing of grass and not have a wolf next to it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But wolves are allergic to cabbage. And so you can't have a wolf next to a cabbage, but it can go anywhere else on the board, right? But it's a tile puzzle. And so you can't slide these animals like over one another. You've got to move them around one another. And you can only move the animals. So you can't move the cabbage. You can't move the tiles that have grass on it. You can't move the tiles that are icy because pigs don't like the cold, right? And that sort of thing. And so for every level, you've got like all of these animals that are on there, and you have to move them to the point on the map where all of the animals are happy. Every animal has to be happy for you to pass it. And when the animals are happy, they do like a cute little dance, and they're like hopping up and down, and it's great, right?
It's cute, yeah.
What gets crazy about this is when you start to introduce the fact that there are switches that will change all of the ice tiles to grass tiles and all of the grass tiles to ice tiles. And then there are eggs where the first animal that moves next to an egg, it copies that animal and puts another one on your board, right? And so there's all of these different like things that you have to do to make this game more and more and more complex. But it stays cute. It stays fun. It stays in general pretty light. There was only like 2 puzzles where I had to like retry them completely, like fully reset them.
Sure.
In the demo, I played probably 25 levels of this.
Dang. Okay.
There's like 10 more, but I was like, hey, I got the gist of this in the demo.
Yeah.
It was really good, though. I would highly recommend people check it out. I really enjoyed it. It is not a Steam Deck compatible game, but it lets you use the right stick and the right trigger to like move the mouse and click. Cool. And so even though it's not a Steam Deck game, I was able to play it on the Steam Deck and still have a good time with it. I imagine on desktop, it's like a breeze because you're literally just clicking and dragging animals.
For sure.
Wherever.
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like it's a little bit like a logic puzzle in the same sense too. Like it's not only like strategic, but like you really have to think about like, all of these different mechanics together.
Yeah, it's a lot like the sliding number tile puzzles.
Yeah.
But with animals and dancing.
And so dancing.
And then,
Yeah.
one thing I forgot to mention, I don't know how this plays into the game later on, but as I completed like all of the sheep levels, for instance, where it introduces you to the sheep, at the end, the reward is the sheep gave me like sparkling water. And the
Oh.
penguin gave me like rice. And so all of the animals are just giving you these like food items to like thank you for making them happy. It's a very light, very cute, very fun game.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds definitely up my alley and I kind of want to try it out.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at it right now on Steam and I just love like the art style of it. It's very like cute and like almost like drawn. Like it feels like somebody drew like all of these different like icons.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely feels. I don't want to say it feels unpolished, but it feels raw, I think is the best way to describe it. The art style is a little goofy.
Mm-hmm.
All of it's it's like a little goofy, but it's like a little fun little game. I like it.
Cute.
I like it. You got any other questions for it?
Man, I just feel like I need to play this game. Like I don't want to ask questions because I feel like I would just want to like jump right in and just like try it out.
Do it. Animal Planner rules.
What's the music like? Is it cute music?
I don't remember it, which
that's unfortunate.
Probably means that it's like inoffensive puzzle game music,
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even remember if there's different music between the overworld where you're like picking the levels and the actual levels themselves.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I don't remember. But it's not bad. I can tell you that because if it were bad, I would remember
it. Right. Exactly. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Good question, though. Good question. What's your next game?
So my next game actually comes from a suggestion from Enderwolf. He was on our one of our episodes before, and I think that he goes by Baron Caller in the Discord now, and it's called Vexlands. When he was describing it to me, he said it's like very much like Forager, which is a game where like you play as a character, and it's kind of like top down, and you go around and like you pick up resources, you build buildings, and do a lot of like exploration. What's really cool about Vexland is that like in order for you to explore the world, you actually have to pay money for it. So when you're gathering resources, you sell that resources to a store, you get gold, and then you can unlock like tiles in the world. And every world is, randomly generated. So whatever shows up in those tiles could be, different from one playthrough to the next. And when you open up a tile, it could give you like a new resource. It could give you a building or like a blueprint that will help you craft different types of items, or another like craft a building, which is like super, super cool. So when you're like going around and unlocking like these areas, I've unlocked like a dungeon where like you can go in and you can like dungeon crawl and making sure you don't hit traps, like killing enemies inside of it, but also collecting like really interesting loot inside of there, which is super interesting in the game. And then like sometimes you'll unlock like buildings, and one of the buildings I got to unlock was called a wishing well, and you could spend gold at this wishing well and it could give you like new resources, or it could give you like a brand new blueprint. And it's kind of nice because as you're exploring and harvesting all these different items, you can run into like other characters, like NPCs that are like asking you to like help them out to do X, Y, and Z. I thought this game was so much fun because it's just kind of like a little bit grindy, but there's also a lot of aspects for you to like, craft your village the way that you want it, place items in certain areas, add decoration items that sometimes you can't remove. So it's just like a permanent structure there, which is kind of annoying for somebody who loves, base building. You can't modify it. And yeah, it's just super great. Like as like you're going through and playing this game, like you level up your character, so you can get like really cool abilities, such as movement speed. You can get like a dash. You could like harvest, more resources, or you can run faster on specific tiles. And I loved it. I love this game so much because it was kind of like a little bit wacky. It was very cute. The music was great, and you can kind of play it in different ways. Like you could be very like chill and cozy about it, where you're just like, I'm just going to do resource management or whatever. And then there's like other times where I'm just like, all right, I'm in a dungeon. Let's go murder a whole bunch of stuff. But I loved it so much that I wish listed it, and I think I'm gonna buy it when it comes out. It's
That's
just
awesome.
very cool.
It sounds very cool. Is it like top down or isometric or?
It's kind of it's isometric. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, it might have been first person. I doubted it, but you could do this game in a bunch of different ways. It sounds really, really awesome, though.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a good Brody game as well. Like Brody would really enjoy it. But the one thing that like I do not like about this game is that like the resources will just reappear after like you harvest it. Mm-hmm. So like when you're making your own town or whatever, like sometimes a tree will just like spawn in the middle of your village and you just like don't want it there. You're just like, why are you here? Like I'm gonna cut you down and it just spawns like a tile next to it. Like, oh God, just go away. I would just want you to go away.
Nice. It sounds fun. I mean, aside from random trees sprouting up literally everywhere, it sounds great.
Yeah, it's definitely a really nice time. I want to play more and seeing like what type of other buildings there are, like what type of quests I can do, and like how crazy I can like build my town.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, it sounds fun. Does it have any like multiplayer or anything like that or no?
Great question. I'm not 100% sure. When I played the demo, I didn't think that there was any, but I'm going to do a quick Google.
Because that sounds like the sort of fun, like it sounds like it'd be fun solo and really fun multiplayer.
For sure. Yeah, it says it's single player, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do something with like multiplayer, like couch co-op or something.
Cool. Very cool.
All right, Dale, tell me your next game. What did you play?
Right. My next game is a game called Another Crab's Treasure.
Oh my God. Please tell me more about this crab's adventure.
So this game is you're a crab, and you're specifically a hermit crab, and you are moving from shell to shell, and every shell that you're in gives you an ability, because this is a third-person Souls-like crab game.
I'm sorry, a Souls-like crab game?
Uh-huh. In that, the combat is legitimately difficult, like Elden Ring combat difficult. Mm-hmm. You have a dodge, you have a jump, you have a block, but some attacks can't be blocked. There's a parry, all of that sort of thing. But instead of changing your weapon, at least I don't think you can change your weapon. If you can, I didn't get to that part of the demo. You can change your shell. And so you start out with like a soda can, and the soda can gives you X amounts of shell points, SP, right? Mm-hmm. That are like a secondary health pool. But when they're gone, your shell is broken and it's gone. And then each shell gives you a special move. And you have umami is the the like meter for that. And like the soda one allows you to hit this button and it shoots soda bubbles out and knocks all the enemies away from you.
That's kind of cool.
Or like you can have a bottle cap from like a Coke bottle and it lets you pop up, which is like an uppercut, like a rising uppercut style attack, that sort of thing. The whole game takes place underwater. So you can jump, but you can also swim. You're not you're like too heavy to swim upward. So it's like a glide kind of, which is interesting. But yeah, it's hard. It's like legitimately difficult. But I really enjoyed it. I don't know that I'm going to buy it. I might wait until it goes on sale or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it also like just put its tongue solidly in its cheek. Like the currency in the game is microplastics. Anytime you learn something new to like press A to dismiss it, it says acknowledge knowledge, and you have to hold A and the little acknowledge knowledge bar fills up, right? Like that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you're finding like trash all over the ocean floor, and it like gives you different abilities. So it's like, oh, you can have this sponge that lets you generate more umami on attacks, or you can have a razor blade that lets you, deal more damage on attacks.
Sure.
one of the first things that you get is a fishing hook, and that lets you grapple to specific points on the map for like traversal purposes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting, really, really polished. Like I cannot explain to you how good the animation was, how good the world building was. Like it's obvious that the developers put a ton of care into this game. If you like Souls-like games and you like crabs, I would recommend checking this game out.
So, what type of enemies are you fighting underwater? Like, is it just other sea creatures, or like are
crabs mostly?
Other crabs. Got it.
Other crabs. Jellyfish are platforms, right? That move up and down and side to side. But at least in the part that I played, other crabs. I think I played maybe 40 minutes of this total because I'll be honest with you, I was not thinking this was going to be as difficult as it was.
Sure.
And the like fifth time that I died to like a boss crab who had like a sand castle pail on his back, I was like, I'm over this. I'm out.
Yeah. You know? That's so interesting. What did the water? Because like water games in general, like every game has a very like distinct way of showcasing being underwater. How did this one feel? Did it feel like natural? Did it feel like realistic? In any way?
That's a really good question. So what's crazy about this game is it had a bunch of bottomless pits. Where when you fall into a bottomless pit, you just like regenerate next to it with a little bit of your health gone,
Okay.
And those were really interesting because it just like the color of the water like gradually got darker and darker as you were falling into it. Yeah. And so that was kind of cool. Outside of that, the only times that you remember that you're in water is when you're like swimming or anytime you break a breakable object in the world, bubbles will come out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So like that sort of thing. But they didn't do any sort of like graphical effect over the screen to remind you're in water, which makes sense because that would get really, really cumbersome after a little while.
Oh, for sure. Like all the little like plankton or like sea dust or I don't even know what to call it. Yeah, exactly. Element. Yeah. Particles might be a little bit too much.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. It sounds like a game I would not want to play.
I don't blame you. I don't know that I'll go back to it, but it was. If you're looking for another, like I'm still in Elden Ring. I haven't beaten Elden Ring, but if you're looking for a game like Elden Ring that also is like a little goofy, this is one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. What is your next game?
So my next game is called Right and Down and Dice. So essentially it is a it kind of reminds me of Slay the Spire in a sense where like you pick a hero, your hero has abilities and it has like a specific like artifact and like you go into the dungeon. And a dungeon is essentially like the game's premise is that you want to get down like 12 different floors of this game. And every floor is like a 3x3 grid with like an enemy or like a shop in one of those grids. And so like when you go into combat, you essentially like roll like your character has dice. You roll a set of dice and every enemy has like little tiny how much they're going to hit you for, like a specific skill. And then there's like slots where you can like put your dice in there to defeat the enemy. And sometimes like those different slots will have like a dice modifier on there where you have to pick like the right color, or it has to be like a dice over a certain number, right? And what's really interesting is that like sometimes like when you're fighting these different monsters, their skills can affect you either immediately or like, on their own turn. So like you can see, people having something like, increased damage if you place a dice on this card, or if you it will poison your dice when you use it, so you take damage, or it can remove a dice from the beginning of your turn. So you really have to like think through, like if there's multiple enemies on your screen, like which one do you want to defeat first, in order for you to like move on to next area. And I liked it a lot because like they had the different hero. I think there was like 2 different heroes that you can select from, but they all have like different types of skills that you can use. Where like you could either like re-roll the dice that's currently on your board. You could also level up some of your dice to have like a higher number, so that way it can like help you get through certain areas. And very similar to Slay the Spire, you have like your artifacts where like they're kind of like permanent upgrades to your hero, and then you also have like your consumables where like you can just use it once and it's gonna like help you out in like situational areas. I thought this was like very, very cool, because one, the tutorial was very like on point. It told you exactly how to play the game, like what to look for, and then it kind of just like let you like do your own thing, which was great. The music was very like it kind of gave you like a medieval like vibe to it, but like when you get into combat, it gave you like that combat music that you're just like, yeah, like this is a jam. Like I want to defeat these monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time I played this, you're collecting these different artifacts, you're making your build with your character, and sometimes it just like doesn't go well and you just die within like the first like 2 floors or something like that. But then you're like, man, I can do so much better the next run. And I think I played like almost 2 hours of this game because it was just like it was just fun in general. Like I loved the gameplay. The loop was great. And because, I love a good roguelite, so
Mm-hmm.
it kind of just like hit that for me. 10 out of 10. I don't know why I liked it so much. It was just very enjoyable.
It sounds like it is 100% my shit.
You would like it. Totally.
It sounds really, really cool. And the idea that you can only move right or down on a 3x3 grid means that like every floor is 4 moves. And
Yes.
so every run is 48 moves. And it's like you got to fit whatever build you want into those sorts of things.
Right.
That's a really, really cool way to do that. It actually sounds like it would be a really awesome mobile game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because of that, because they're like, obviously it's like pretty limited as far as like how long it's going to take. But man, it sounds really cool. How was the art style? Were the graphics okay?
Graphics was really nice. Yeah, it was very cohesive, very colorful. Like every monster had like its own like artwork to it, and they were like interesting.
Okay.
The one thing that I didn't necessarily like truly liked about this game is that there were no bosses that I've encountered. It was just mostly like small enemies that you can, you kind of kill off that have like different types of skills. Yeah,
Did you beat a run yet?
I have not. Okay. I've been trying. Like, it's just the game is punishing because once you place a die in a slot, like you can't remove it. Like you can't move it. So like if you accidentally like put the wrong colored die in the wrong slot, you're like, shit. Like I like that totally. It could totally ruin your run because like you have to kill off this enemy, otherwise it's going to like buff all of the other ones type of thing. And then just murder you. So that's the only one thing that I didn't like about it, but like it's definitely worthwhile to play. You would totally like it.
Nice. My one other question about this is obviously it's a roguelike. So like what's the meta progression like? Are there like a bunch of different classes? Are there just a few? Like what else can you unlock? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so I think that during the demo, there's like 2 classes that you can select from, and then there's different artifacts that can be applied to your main to your main hero. So like when you're starting your first run, it gives you like 3 different skills you can select from. You have to pick one from that, from that set, and then you can pick like one artifact from the 3 that you have. So I would assume that like if you are going to be, going through this game, you'd be collecting more heroes, you'd be collecting more artifacts. There's also something that I noticed but didn't get to really play around with, is that I think it has like almost like an Ascension style like feel to it, because it tells you like the level of dungeon at the very bottom of your screen. But like I think it's a demo, so you really can't like explore that as much as I think that you would want to.
But it'll have some sort of like scaling difficulty most likely. That's cool.
I think so.
It sounds like it's going to be very deep when it releases.
I agree. Yeah. That's awesome. even right now, like I just want to try all of the like the different artifacts, like the starting artifacts, just to see like how it plays out.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds really good. I'm gonna go wishlist this right after this.
Go download the demo. Awesome. What are you doing? You can play it right now.
You're right. I could. You're right. I have the power. Speaking of demos that I could be playing right now, Turnip Boy robs a bank.
Ooh, I love Turnip Boy, like the franchise. It's just so silly.
I have never played Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Have you played it?
I played a little bit of it, yeah. It's goofy. Just goofy. Yeah.
I watched a speed run of it, and all I know is that anytime he receives a piece of paper, he rips it up, which is amazing. But I'll be honest with you, playing through Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, the demo, made me want to play Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. It even asks at the beginning of the demo for this if you've played the first one, and then it's like, you should, but I'm not going to stop you. It's pretty great. The game is like a fun bank robbing roguelike. And there's like, you're like you get caught up in the mob in the beginning. There's like the pickle mob. Everybody's a vegetable. Everybody's a vegetable in this game. Yeah. So the pickle mob is there. And then there's like an avocado. I guess some people are fruits. There's an avocado scientist who's there. And there's like a beet who's also an android. No, not android. The other one, cyborg. He's got like cyborg parts. And he's talking about like getting gains and all this. Anyway, you go and you rob a bank. And inside the bank, there's going to be 3 types of creatures. There's going to be people who are just at the bank. And those people you just walk up to and hold A, and you pick them up over your head and you shake them, and their money falls out. and that's how you get their money. And then there's going to be people in the bank who like want to talk to you and have quests to give you. Okay. Right? There's all sorts of crazy quests. There's like, hey, you got to get this artifact to my friend, the melon slice. And the artifact is like a Garfield mug, right? And then there's somebody who's like doing graffiti, and he's like, hey, here's a crayon, go do some graffiti. And then you like go do graffiti on all of the paintings in the area around him. And you come back and he like gives you a hat that says like graffiti guy, you know? It has no other in-game effect. It's just now you are a turnip wearing a hat that says graffiti guy. But then like there's other quests where it's like, okay, now you get a pickaxe that lets you break down statues, lets you open up new areas. Now you can get enough money to buy the C4 off of the dark web, and you can use the C4 to blow into this vault, right? There's all of these different crazy little quests and that sort of thing. There's a ton of different guns in this game. I have found not one, but 2 cactus weapons.
What?
One is a cactus shotgun. The other one is a cactus machine gun.
Does it shoot out needles, or does it shoot out cactus?
Shoot out needles.
Oh, okay.
Yep. The crayon that I mentioned before for doing graffiti, also a melee weapon.
You can bop people with a crayon. My
other favorite, it's funny that you say that. I believe that when he gives you the crayon, he says you could bop some bad guys with it. So, yes. My other favorite melee weapon so far, fish. You can fish slap people. And that's pretty great. Oh my
God.
And any of the weapons that you get in your run, as long as you survive the run, by going back to your getaway truck in enough time, you can like give them to these parsnips, and they will let you upgrade them and unlock the weapons and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's 2 parsnips, parsnip twins. I don't know. I didn't make the game, right?
Yeah. So silly.
Yeah. The way the game works is your truck drives in through the side of the bank. It's a top down, like twin stick shooter kind of roguelike deal. And then there's a timer in the upper right hand corner for when the cops will show up. And if you don't get out by the time the cops are there, now there's all these different enemies between you and your getaway truck.
Oh.
And if you die, you lose half of the money that you've earned, and you get none of the items that you've collected.
Right.
But you still get something for doing it. There's like Gungeon style bosses where it's like bullet hell, enemies everywhere, bullets all over the screen. But don't worry about it. There's a dodge in heavy quotation marks, because the dodge is just Turnip Boy falling over. He just falls over.
So goofy.
And like bullets fly over him. You can fall forward through like lasers and shit to like get on the other side of lasers. It's just ridiculous. But the game seems really deep, really fun. I mentioned that cool quest system that unlocks a bunch of different like ways to get to new areas, new abilities, that sort of thing. I've spent money so far in the demo on increasing the amount of health that I have and the amount of money that I can carry at any given point. Mm-hmm. There's like a bunch of other different things that you can do there. It's really, really good. I would highly recommend it to pretty much everyone. I will most likely be picking this up, and I will most likely be playing Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion before I pick this up. That's how good it is.
Nice. I'm so excited to try this. It sounds wonderful. I love like the art style of like Turnip Boy because it's just it's very cute for the most part. Mm-hmm. But like some of the dialogue like in the franchise is just very goofy. Like,
oh, it's so funny. It is so funny.
So I'm going to also download this right now if I already haven't.
Yeah, it's real good. It's real good. It's also a little bit difficult, but it's real good. You got any other questions about Turnip Boy robbing a bank?
Yeah, I do actually. So like you said it's kind of like a rogue game where like you kind of go through different like banks and stuff like that.
Yeah, so what's really wild about it is the bank lobby is always the same. And then the first time you go to get on the elevator, it's like, they had special elevators installed that'll take you to a different floor every time you go through as a safety precaution. Oh. And so that's how they explain the fact that it's a roguelike. You know, it's cool.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense then. Okay. Yeah, I'm totally ready to try this out.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's the first roguelike that I've seen where there's like quests in the middle of it where it's like, okay, you're in here, do this quest in this run. Or you're in here, I'm going to give you this quest and you'll be able to complete it on a future run. And so I've seen games that do one and I've seen games that do the other. I've never seen a game that does both.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to try it out. Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you have another game? Or
I had... Yeah, I do actually. It's not in the outline, but I did get to play a little bit of Backpack Battles. I know I saw this like in, on the store or whatever, and I was like, oh, I see that Dale has played this game. And I really enjoyed it. Like, in the demo itself, you essentially have a character that does... I think it gives you like a handful of different items and it's in your backpack. And you can buy additional items from the store and then you add that to your backpack. And then you have to figure out exactly like how to place the items in your backpack. It's almost like an inventory management game because like you want to have certain items synergize with other items. And then it will also, if you put them close together and you go through, different battles, it's an auto battler. I should also explain. When you go through and do these battles, like some of these items can like merge and create other items. So you want to double check like for all of the different items, like, what type of power up is it going to give you? Is it like an attack? Is it a defense? Is it going to give you more health? Which is, it's crazy. This game was just so insane because like at first I'm like, okay, my backpack is like tiny. I can only hold like 5 items. But then like as I'm like putting more items into my backpack, it battles, you go in and you battle like another person with other stuff in their backpacks, and then you're like, oh, I'm back in the store again, I can buy more backpacks. This backpack has an ability to do something cool, like what? So then you have to like rearrange your inventory almost like every single run so that you can just like have, the best combination of items that's given to you. So I liked it. I thought it was a very, very cool game. How did you feel about it?
I love this game.
Yeah.
I think this game is incredibly awesome. It is way deeper than it looks like it's going to be. The fact that like the placement and the synergy is so important. Totally. Like Mel said, it's an auto battler. So you basically start the battle and you just watch your 2 characters go, right? But the way that it works is like, let's say you have a sword in your inventory. It's going to activate every 3 seconds. It's going to use 1 endurance. and it's going to deal, 8 to 10 damage. But then you can put a sharpening stone next to the sword. And so now the sword deals 9 to 11 damage. And then you can put a caltrop next to the sword, and suddenly every time it attacks, you gain thorns. And so when you get hit, you deal a damage back to your opponent. And then there's health potions. So it's like, when you get down to half health, you restore all the way back up to regular health. And then there's mushrooms that'll poison you. And there's scythes that'll poison your opponent, and double the poison from all of the mushrooms poisoning your opponents. And like all of these crazy item synergies that just play out in all of these different wild ways. And it's like, you'll go in and you'll see an item you've never seen before in your opponent's backpack, and you'll hover it over it, and you'll be trying to figure out like who's gonna win, and you're like, oh man, I don't know, is my poison gonna beat their archery? You know, is my friendly blob who heals me every time I like doot on this flute 5 times going to be able to out heal their dragon that they have? Like there's all of these crazy different builds that you can do, and it's really awesome. It's got this really cool ranked mode. Eric McGann and his wife, who I believe her name is Love Is What I Got in the Discord, both play this. They both stream this frequently.
That's awesome.
So if you want to see someone trying this out, go check them out. But yes, I highly recommend downloading this demo. I really, really enjoy this game. I think it's awesome. And I'm glad that you enjoy it too. It's really weird because it's got like Backpack Hero vibes to it, but also like Super Autopets vibes to it. The art style is really like silly and fun.
It is, yeah.
And there's like a million different ways that you can build your character.
Tons of different items. It's wild.
Yeah, you can have like a food build. You can have like a deck of cards build. I had a potion build one time.
Dang.
Like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's whatever you get in the store.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, I think it is time for our sponsored question. And this week, our final question is sponsored by Way Too Many Games. That's right, there's way too many games for us to try them all, and they all teamed up to give us a sponsorship. I don't know why. We didn't try them. But the question they want to ask is, which games did we look at, think about trying, and skip, and why did we skip them?
I will go first. So I picked out a game called Thaumaturge. I don't even know if that's even how you pronounce that word.
Thaumaturge.
Whatever.
It's blood magic, if that helps you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So supposedly it's turn-based RPG, story-rich. It looked very, very cool, not my alley. But then I was like, oh yeah, there's like demons and shit in this. And I wasn't mentally or emotionally prepared to have to deal with that type of stuff because like I'm not a huge fan of like scary games, and I wasn't sure like on the scale of scary where this game laid. And I was just like, I'm gonna pass for it right now. I would love to try it, but like
is it legit scary?
I don't know. That's the thing. I do not know.
Yeah, you just weren't ready for it to potentially be a scary game. So you're like, I'll come back to this later.
Yes. Yep.
All right. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, you said demons and shit. Do you mean shit literally, like as in like the Dante's Inferno game where there's like filth demons? Or is it like demons and devils and like spooky and scary?
It looks spooky and scary.
But not gross.
But not gross. Yeah, okay. It's not like a gory game. It's just spoopy. A little spoopy.
Yeah.
Demon spoopy.
That makes sense. It's spoopy month. Spoopy season.
Right.
Maybe I give it a shot. It sounds cool. Game that I wanted to try but couldn't is a game called quote, a strategy game, but with a penguin who has a sword, end quote. That's the title of the game. A strategy game, but with a penguin who has a sword. I downloaded it. As I'm sure you guys all know, my house is currently floating in the sky. So I am playing all games on a Steam Deck, and this game was not Steam Deck compatible. There was no way for me to do anything. I was stuck on a screen that just asked what language I wanted, and nothing that I did would allow it to let me pick English. So I had to jettison myself quickly. But if anyone gets the chance to try this, let me know how it is, because the title of the game alone is goofy enough that I wanted to try it out.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Oh, is it like a 2D type of game? Like what?
Mel, I read the title and hit install demo.
Okay, fair enough. Fair. Title got you. Fair enough.
Yeah. All right, what's your second one?
My second game is called Repair This, where I think you just own a repair shop and talk to customers, and like based on the dialogue that you have with these customers, you can like influence their life and have them do stuff. I thought it was kind of interesting. You know, I clicked on it to like see what it was all about, but then there was like an investigation tag on it, and I was like, what are we investigating if we are just running a shop? So I was just like unsure whether or not this was going to be a good game for me, because like the graphics looked wonky and I wasn't sure if I wanted to invest time into it. But it looked interesting. Like I love a good, you know, simulation game. It's just that like, why is there an investigation tag?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like Coffee Talk. Have you played any of those?
I love Coffee Talk.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like those. Yeah. And maybe the investigation is like trying to find out more about your customers' lives, like that.
Possibly.
Sort of thing. That would be a cool way for it to go. I hope it isn't one of those things where it's like, you know, oh, you're a repair person in the shop for like the first act, and then after that it's like, oh, now you've got to go out into the world and investigate a murder, or like that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I think that like you are repairing like technology, like tech items, and like, you know, your customers are spies or something like that. Who knows?
Okay.
Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I didn't play it.
That sounds really intriguing, actually. That sounds really intriguing. Another game that sounds really intriguing is a game that was recommended by Fleabitten in the Discord. It's called RoboCop Rogue City, which is like a first-person shooter RoboCop game.
Okay.
And I didn't try it because if it's not just constantly shooting dicks off of rapists for like 6 hours, I don't want to play it. I want a game based off of the Vimeo video, Our RoboCop Remake Scene 27. If you haven't seen it, Google it, check it out. It is very much not safe for work or lunch, but it is hilarious. The link is in the show notes. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, the link is right there for you. For everyone else, enjoy Googling it. Good luck. Yes.
Interesting.
Cool.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that you want to talk about Steam Next Fest?
No, I just want people to recommend a whole bunch of game demos and let me go try them. We have until the 16th to do it, so let's get at it.
Yeah, I would love, if you have any recommendations, please put them in the podcast discussion channel in the Discord. Hit me up on any of the other channels. I want to know what you're playing. I want to know if you've enjoyed it, if you would recommend it. Unless you're Dan, because Dan only plays the worst fucking games and he never sounds like he's having a good time. So fuck you, Dan. But everybody else, I would love your recommendation. That's not fair. Dan recommended Tape to Tape to me, and that game's very good.
That's the only one redeeming thing.
Yeah.
And then everything else, he can go fuck himself.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, cool. Why don't you tell the people where you can be found?
I am Melephant. You can find me on the Discord and on Blue Sky as Melephant.
I am a 20-sided ninja. You can find me in the Discord, on Blue Sky, and also in Steam. Look me up in Steam and friend me there. I'm a 20-sided ninja. I'm the only one. I've killed all of the other ones. My quest is complete. You can look me up. But yeah, friend me there and send me your recommendations that way. I think it's pretty easy to do it if we're friends on Steam. So, yeah, awesome. Other than that, I guess it's time for us to be done.
Yeah.
We did it.
It was
a great episode. I had a lot of fun.
I did too.
All right. Wonderful. Well, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye. If you're listening, thanks for listening. I hope you have a great day. Bye.